All right, well, good morning. I want to show you a video on painting your Zentangle design with marker. And it is possible that you're not very far with your Zentangle, and I think that's just fine. You can paint all of this without having done the Zentangle, or if you want to finish the Zentangle, you may certainly do so. But I'm going to go ahead and say this is a good day. Friday is a good day to just go ahead and start with some paint, or better yet, marker. So just so you know, these markers are going to be in these pink boxes, okay? And there is one for each table. You can see that they are color-coded according to the tables. And so you should have one that has, well, probably one of each color, maybe more. And so you'll have quite a selection. So what's interesting is this is water-based markers. So when we add water to it, it will actually turn into paint. And it's sometimes easier to control than your standard watercolor. So that's why we're going to be using this. To do this, you are going to put a little marker down and then add some water to it. And you could decide to do each of your sections, like right here, different colors. But I think with mine, I'm going to go ahead and do each one purple on this row right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some water to this, or excuse me, add some marker to it. And because this is on watercolor paper, all I have to do is then take a brush, and there will be 4 of these brushes at each of your table. They're in a container. These are brand new brushes, so we really want to take care of them because they are going to be awesome to work with. And we want to keep them for a long time. So we're going to keep the water mainly in just the top part, and we don't need a whole lot of water. In fact, you can see I dip that in, and then I'm just going to kind of drag it across the lip of the water container. And again, there should also be 4 water containers at each table. So with my wet paintbrush, I'm going to just basically go over this marker and turn it into paint. And once I have done that, I can drag it across my section and go from dark to light. And we do, what's nice is that we can now emphasize these lines, like these lines right here, with the dark marker, even though they're done in ink. Now something I didn't mention before is, even though I'm not completely done, I did go through these sections and I went ahead and erased all the pencil lines, or most of them. I can see I have one right there. And you'll want to do that before you go too far into it. I said I was going to use the same color, and I noticed I used a little bit different purple because it's a little bit more of a red tinge to it. But again, I'm going to leave it up to you. You could go different with each one, or you could keep the whole section the same. Now again, you're going to take your marker and just go over your areas with a little bit of color. It does not take very much because these markers are pretty intense. And to clean your brush, you can just kind of clean it in the water, strain off a little extra, and then get right in there with the tip. This is kind of a small section, so I really want to use just the tip, and go over it with your paintbrush. It's always nice to have a little paper towel handy so you can swab off extra. Like if you get too much water on there, or you just want to absorb a little bit, you can just take your paper towel, take the water and the paint off, and just soak up a little bit in your area. The other thing to consider is that you'll want to be careful not putting too much wet paint by wet paint. This one I did before I started the video, so it was dry enough I could go right next to it. But it might be a little dangerous to go ahead and do paint here when I've got this one wet and it's not really dried. So I'm going to let that one sit before I go too much further. And again, if you're not done with your Zentangles, you can go ahead and paint first and then come back on Monday and do the Zentangles. It's a good day to just do something different, which is why we're going to go ahead and do markers and paintbrush to make it into paint. So there you go.